And now it's time for a preview of an upcoming game by Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at a game on Kickstarter called Scribes Arena. Now, Scribes Arena is a fantasy-based word-solving game, something you probably have not heard of before. But I think most people have heard of the game called Hangman, the game where you try to guess letters and you try to draw as many appendages on the person as you possibly can to avoid getting hung. This game has a similar feel to it, in which you are trying to guess your opponent's words. But it does so with the veneer of magic on top of it, and you casting spells. Let's take a quick look at how the game plays, and we'll be back. Now remember, this is a prototype. Not everything you see is in final form. Some of the artwork is complete. What I'm doing here is basically just giving an overview of how the game works. Now the game can be played, it's mostly set up kind of for 1 versus 1, but you can play multiple players or even team versus team. I'm going to explain 1 versus 1, and everything else kind of fits into that. Each player is going to take one of these god cards here. This is Icarus, the nature god, and it has an amount of energy that they start with, a number of spells, a number of allies, and a special power. Also, it's a certain type, so this is nature, for example. Here we have a light and darkness, and here's a fire. Look how nasty that guy looks. And there's another fire, another nature, a water, a darkness, a water. Okay, so here we have Valerian, a light god. So at the start of the game, let's say I pick her. First, I would say, okay, she starts with 9 energy, and I would put a marker there to show that she starts with 9 energy. She starts with 1 spell, so you draw a spell from the spell deck. And she'd also start with 3 allies. Now, since she's a light god, I would look at the light allies that come with the game and go through those, and I get 3 of them. So I'm going to put them face up, and I will be able to use them over the course of the game. Players will draw an arena, and each arena has letters in it. This is the fields of magic. So we have a 5, 6, and 7 letter word and a special effect. Here's a 5, 6, 5, a 7, 5, 5, a 4, 6, 5, 6, 6, 6. We'll use this one, for example. 4, 6, 6 is the word lengths, and the fire chasm also has a special ability that will affect that battle. So what I need to do is I need to think of 3 words. The first one 4 letters, the second one 6 letters, the third one 6. So I'm like, all right, so I'll pick clowns for one of my 6 letter words. For another one, let's see, I'll pick ticket. Okay, that's 6 letters. Ticket. And for the first word of 4 letters, I'll pick dice. All right, that's a great one. Dice, clown, and ticket. So those are my 3 words. I then turn over my card so that this is going to be used now on my turn to guess my opponent's word. I'm going to guess their first word like this, second one here, and third one here. You have to guess the first word before you can go on to the next 2. You can play a basic game where you're just guessing 2 words of your opponent. Now on a player's turn, the first thing they do is they'll increase 1 energy and they will draw 1 spell card. They can then play as many spell cards as they want, although most spell cards cost energy, so if you run out of energy, you can't play anymore. Also, remember I said at the beginning of the game, you'll start with some allies face up next to you. You can turn those allies over to utilize them once per game. Let's take a look at some of the spells that you can play. Most of the spells involve you guessing a letter in your opponent's word. Like, for example, this one says special guess 1 letter, which affects all your opponent's words. So I'm trying to guess my opponent's words, so I'll pick the letter T. And so my opponent, I play that card, my opponent says, okay, there's a T as the 4th letter of the first word. By the way, I put a line here and here to show that there's 4 letters, 6 letters, and 6 letters. And then he says there is a T in the 4th spot of the 3rd word. So that's that. And that cost me 3 to do that special ability. Some of these cards will allow you to stop your opponents from playing cards. This one stops a normal guess. Here you can special guess a letter. If you're incorrect, you guess the next 2 letters of the alphabet. Here you can pick one thing. Either special guess a letter, draw 2 spells, or gain 4 energy. Here you special guess a letter, and if you're correct, put the spell back into your hands. Here you can guess a letter, and if you're correct, guess another letter. Here you can guess 2 letters at once, and for each one that you guess correctly, you get 3 energy. Here you can guess 4 consecutive letters. Then here's things that like this that will cancel a spell. You destroy the spell and you give the person their energy back. Or here you put it on top of the deck and give them their energy back. So there's lots of different cards that players can do. So once players are done with that, then at the end of a player's phase, they will essentially have what's called a normal guess. And there you just pick a word. So I say, okay, I'll guess E. E is not there, so I cross E off here. I also cross off T since I've already guessed that. And this helps keep me track there. Now sometimes there's things that will lock a letter, like U, and I can't guess that letter for the rest of that word. It is possible when you're taking your normal guess that instead of guessing a letter, you can guess the word. And so this will continue. Player will go back and forth. Once you figure out the first word, which here happens to be shut, you then go down to the next word. And you keep going until you've guessed the words of your opponent, which in this case are shut, yonder, and portal. So the first person to guess the words of their opponent is the winner of the game. Scribes Arena is going to really appeal to those folks who like word games. This is like, it's like Hangman on steroids in a sense. There's a lot of cool things and there's a lot of logic. Some of the things I really enjoy about this is like when you play a card that says, guess 4 consecutive letters. Which 4 consecutive letters am I going to guess? You know, which is going to give me the most bang for my buck? And then using that to figure out your opponent. It also has the idea of throwing down spells and having your opponent cancel them. But I just can't get over how much I like the different cards you play. Like one says, guess a letter. If incorrect, guess the next 2 consecutive letters. So I'll say, all right, D. Oh, there's no D? Well, great, because I wanted to guess E and F anyway. So there's some back and forth. Obviously, part of it is into the person picking good words. You have to pick knowledgeable English words. You can't use proper nouns, your typical Scrabble type rules. And just going back and forth with this really beautiful artwork and this fantasy theme with the whole, I'm stopping your card there, I'm going to play this negative thing on you, and I have special powers. I mean, each of these people has special powers. Let me tell you a little bit about some of the powers that each person has. One person has one where when they guess correctly on their normal guess at the end of a round, they can go again. This person here can special guess when they have no spells in their hand. They can special guess 2 letters at once and draw 2 spells. This person here, if they didn't use any spells, they get 2 energy at the end of their turn. This person here, when they use an action spell, they can change it to just special guess 2 letters. This person here can hold 4 spells in their hands. Normally we have a limit of 3, and all their spells cost 1 less energy. So there's all different things here that are in the game, and they all work together in pretty cool ways as you're trying to guess the words from your opponent. So this game is on Kickstarter right now if you're interested in backing it. If you like word games or if you like word and fantasy, well then this is your magical day. But all this comes together in something I found that it worked really well as a 2-player game, but also works with teams against one another. So that is Scribes Arena.
Thanks for watching our review today. For more information about board games, as well as the #1 board game audio podcast, check out Dicetower.com for reviews, interviews, and more. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.